If there's one thing that game developers have learned ever since the PS2 and original Xbox were loaded with emulated compilations of old games, followed by the 360 and PS3 era of HD remasters and Xbox Live Arcade digital re-releases, with the simultaneous rise of the whole retro geek culture trend that was pushed by a lot of TV shows and movies and stuff like Scott Pilgrim and later Ready Player One. It's that gamers love nostalgia. Now, gamers will buy up anything that reminds them of the good old days, or those good old days that they never experienced, so that they can pretend like they experienced them. It lets them go back to another time, before everybody was turned crazy by the internet, and before, long story short, games really went to in some ways. Of course, there's also this feeling I've experienced because I'm not a total drone, where I've come to learn that something's not what it's all cracked up to be because nerds kept spewing stories to each other about how great it was, and everybody kept believing it to confirm instead of actually trying out the old games. Because the thing is, you know how it is in gaming if you don't conform to the popular opinion. You get attacked by people on the internet. I know this first freaking hand. And the thing is, though, is with these older games, is that while some of them aged really well, there were a lot that just aged poorly. And if you say that, gamers will just they'll flip, they'll say, "Oh my god, you're just bad at the game. Get good. This game was perfect. I played it when I was 7 years old. It's the best game ever. I'm a professional at Sesame Street. I'm a professional at McDonald's the game. I'm a gamer." And that's what happens is gamers just tell each other how great these old games were. And I experienced this the other week. So basically I found out there was some pinball event in my city that I heard about, and it was a letdown. Games had broken displays, the flippers were weak as hell, motors were burnt out, the ball got stuck on one of them to the point where the machine had to be tilted really hard. Like, they had to, like, shake this machine like crazy to get the ball unstuck. Most of them had the volume cranked down low, and the flipper got stuck on another one. And one machine was even stuck in service mode because the coin door was loose, and that caused the interlock to kick in. And the ball seemed to have a mind of its own on half these machines. But I guess I'm not experiencing pinball the right way. I'm not enough of a pinball wizard. Maybe I need to add a little bit of herb to it, if you know what I mean. Or maybe the owner of the arcade with a lot of rundown arcade games near me was right in saying that pinball machines are maintenance nightmares, which is why you don't see many arcades with them anymore, instead having conventional video games, or ticket games, as I like to call them. Is it any wonder why pinball's now associated with hipster barcades and man caves, while video games became mainstream and every kid's playing Fortnite on their cell phone? Just remember that back in the day, you used to be able to, according to posts online, so this might or might not be true, you used to be able to go to any, like, movie theater or 7-Eleven or hardware store or whatever, and they'd have a pinball machine you could play for just a quarter. And now you can't even do that. You gotta go to, like, a hipster barcade and spend $1 to play a pinball machine. I mean, that's kind of stupid, especially if the machine's broken. I think I'll just sit at home and play Call of Duty. So you might be wondering why I spent 4 minutes talking about pinball and about not aging well. Well, there's a reason I brought this story up, because it's the same deal with so many of these retro remakes. They're bait for a very, very specific demographic. A demographic that has had its perception of time and reality warped by the internet, by Polygon and Kotaku, by Tumblr, and by the collective memories of nerds who have nothing in the past to look back upon except for a few shiny video games. And my mom wouldn't get me the new N64 or PS1. I was stuck with an NES. She said that I only had one game system. Why did I need another one? Nothing sums this up better than Spyro Reignited. Oh boy. Now, Spyro Reignited is going to be known for two things. The first thing is how it's single-handedly gotten the furry fandom interested in drawing porn of the Spyro the Dragon franchise. The second thing it's going to be known for is making Spyro relevant again. And all it took was an HD remake of an old PS1 game because Skylanders is a kid's game. And grown men can't play games for kids unless they are sequels or remakes to kids' games they played as a kid. In that case, it's not being a man-child. It's called being a real gamer, Dad! Dad, I can have White Castle on Thanksgiving and Christmas. Get the Dodge Neon, we're going to White Castle for some goddamn sliders. I don't like your dry-ass turkey, Dad, and I don't like you making fun of my lifestyle where I sit on Tumblr all day. I don't like that. I like my good old White Castle sliders. The sliders I can only get in the castle or in the frozen aisle at Walmart, and get this, the frozen ones just aren't the same. Please give me money to my Ko-Fi and my Patreon and my PayPal and my Cash Me accounts. I'm broke as shit. I need money. I don't want to work. I don't want to work. Working is for losers. I don't want to get depressed while working. I don't want to get depressed while working. I just want money, 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 money. Please donate. Please donate. Please donate. Please donate. Please donate. Nothing under $1. Please donate. 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 Please donate. Please donate. Please donate. Follow my public AD account, please. I need money. So while we're trying to solve the mystery of how some random person on the internet, you could just pick any person on Twitter and they're going to be like this, how a random person on the internet is begging for money, yet somehow can afford all this stuff, while we're trying to answer that mystery, let's get back to the video, shall we? Spyro Reignited features 3 Spyro games remade on the Unreal Engine 4 by Toys for Bob. If you don't know who they are, they're the developers of the Skylanders games. The games look nice. Then you notice the frame rate is capped at 30 and drops below that quite often. Remember when it seemed like 60 FPS is what the Xbox One and PS4 were going to be about? Because I remember those days. I guess more power doesn't matter when you apply the prevailing method of development these days to modern hardware. So I'm going to explain that right now. Who cares if code is unoptimized these days, because it's easier for me to write stuff when I can just drag this and drop that and use these pre-made functions. Plus, the computers can handle it today. What? You have some low-end computer with 2 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs of storage on Windows 10? Hey, get this, you're a peasant, it's 2018. Buy a better laptop. I've got a Eurocom laptop with a desktop i9 CPU K series, which I don't overclock because overclocking kills your PC, and I've got a GTX 1080 and gigs of RAM in it. And my partner, or mate, has a, they have a MacBook with the i9 in it, so take that, haters. Bling, bling. Get on my level. I'm writing JavaScript and Python, and my job's so nice, it even gives me free healthcare, free medication, and even free penis removal surgery. But please listen to me when I speak, though. I speak for the common man when I talk about my struggles. I can relate to you. I know how you act. How do you do, fellow peasants? I'm a proud rose emoji. I speak for the people. I hate corporations. Hey, you got the new MacBook? Sure, bring it on in. Woo! Can't wait to use my new MacBook. Hell yeah, Apple for life. The gameplay is kinda clunky. You can't move much when you're ramming enemies, and the camera can be weird at times, and this is made worse by the low frame rate, but it's okay, I guess. It just gets boring after you're playing the game for a little under an hour, and then you'll end up going back to playing Fortnite with your friends anyway, since you have only so much time to game if you're a grown man, between eating, sleeping, driving to work, and working your crappy Amazon warehouse or McDonald's job. Hey, you wanted a better job, but they wanted experience nobody can get normally, so you look at who got the jobs, and you're like, hey, they sure don't seem like they have any experience. I mean, look at the people who work, what's that job called at Google? Site reliability engineer, or whatever that job is called. I mean, it seems like every crazy person on the internet with a Google job has the title of site reliability engineer. I mean, that's probably an easy job. I could probably work it, even though I just sit in my basement and play Call of Duty. But I've worked jobs long enough to realize who plays video games nowadays. And that, yeah, they gotta be fun so you can distract yourself from the fact that your job is shit, your life is shit, and you're gonna die alone in your parents' basement or some cheap-ass apartment and the same person telling you to just go out and get a job that's better also had their job handed to them after they appeared in a viral video, or because their parents had connections, or because their parents got them into a nice college. And then they disowned their parents afterwards when their parents didn't approve of their hedonistic lifestyle. The music is okay. It was composed by Stuart Copeland, who, I don't know, I think he's one of the guys in that band, The Police, that wasn't Steen, I guess. The Spyro Remastered Trilogy costs $40, which is a bit much for a remaster, but meh. It'll sell well for sure. Plenty of nerds out there who are going to spend their mom's credit card money or Uncle Sam's money. Also, don't forget the fact that it's non-Nintendo Switch or the PC yet, so you can't play it on your Eurocom gaming laptop, nor can you buy it on the Switch and play it at the local furry convention when you're just standing around there trying to get friends. It also needs a huge download on the Xbox One, which means that if you have capped internet, you're screwed. Hey, remember what I just said about developers treating their customers like peasants? Because that's what it seems like out in all these big cities where all these developers are. The load times in the game are also long. Now, this does have a point though. The load times are long so that you have enough time to reflect on the nostalgia back when you actually had friends. Back when life seemed to be going good. Back before your friends went crazy and simultaneously tried to backstab you in 100 different ways. I mean, I still remember those days when I like had friends. And that's what it's like when you're playing this game. They're long. They allow you to reflect on the fact that at one point you had friends, and now all your friends went completely crazy, and everyone around you went completely crazy, and that you might as well just detach from what's left of them if you don't want to get too crazy. I'm just overthinking shit, I guess. I mean, everybody told me those comments on, like, image boards were people overthinking stuff before they turned out to be true anyway. Damn it. So, who is this game for? Well, think of it this way. The day I wrote this script and spent a week or two forgetting about it because of other stuff that popped up, I ran into a Nintendo Switch owner who was moping about modern video games. He was like, modern video games are stupid, you pay for everything, and all that stuff. But you know what happened? He was talking about how great Mario was on the Switch. It's for a very specific audience. It's for people who hate the way gaming is and hate the way society is, but instead of trying to improve video games for society, despite the ease of developing video games nowadays, they choose to whine about it and consume more products from companies that hate them, especially if they're retro remasters that pull the wool over their eyes. I mean, you gotta remember, the same people who developed this Spyro game also love all over their customers with stuff like Black Ops 4, with stuff like Overwatch, which is notorious for banning you for every reason they can imagine. I mean, that's who developed this game, just keep in mind. But yeah, back to earlier, that's who these remakes and remasters are for. They're for the people who want to relive a certain period in their life, a period that can only be relived with mass-produced video games, cash-ins like the PS1 Classic, and Geek Culture April from GameStop. After all, nostalgia is blinding, and if I told you that in a few years people will look at something like Modern Warfare 2 like it is the greatest game ever made, you'd laugh at me, and I guarantee that'll happen sooner or later, because I've seen people praise crappy games like Sonic Adventure 2 because they grew up with them as a kid. That happens all the damn time. And that's going to happen a bit more, and it's going to get even worse when you get games with the whole perpetual update model like Fortnite, like Team Fortress 2, like all these free-to-play games, where people are going to have memories of the game from a certain time period, and they won't be able to relive them because, oopsie, the game developer decided to shove 400 updates in your face so it plays nothing like it did when it first came out. I hate that business model, but the people in charge think it's a great idea because I don't know. I mean, I actually miss when, like, games would stay consistent years later, if you get what I'm saying. Oh well. Yeah, nostalgia is quite blinding, honestly, but yeah. That's the thing. I mean, some older games did do some stuff good, but nobody looks at older games that critically all the time. They don't look at these older games and think, what parts of this game were good and what parts weren't. They're like, my nostalgia, I played this game as a kid, I love it. Oh, this was a 90s game I never played, but it's amazing because it was in the 90s. The 90s had all the best games. The 80s had all the best games. Video games! I love old games! Modern games suck! My mom doesn't make me any more nuggets! God damn. Why is nobody going to hire me except the Amazon Wage Cage Warehouse? Oh, damn. Anyhow, that's your Spyro review, people. Thanks for watching and subscribe for more.